Hello everybody and welcome to the Battle of the Mississippi custom multiplayer game, Episode 2, Midday Skirmish. The situation as we begin Episode 2 is pretty simple. We haven't actually started yet. Both sides are marching towards one another and they should make contact almost immediately. The Federals are playing conservatively because they believe the rebels will attack aggressively. And this is based more on the reputation of the commanders involved than it is on actual intel gained. The actual fact is that the rebels are moving aggressively, but only to capture the objectives. Will they then continue the attack against the Federals, or will they just hold the positions that they gain? We are now at turn number 1 in the game. It is 11 a.m., May 10th, 1863, outside of Edwards Station, Mississippi. The first turn of the game is one that I use for administrative purposes, and so nobody actually moves during turn number 1. The first turn that the two sides will be able to actually move their forces is turn number 2. The battlefield looks like this at the conclusion of their moves. As you can see, Sherman has advanced north along the Telegraph Road, but has stopped short of the objective hex. Sherman could have reached the objective hex during his turn and blocked the Confederate advance with cavalry while his infantry marched up behind them. Will Sherman's caution help or hurt the Federal Army in the long run? We will have to wait and see. Over in the west, Stevenson has advanced to take the Smith Road objective during the first Confederate turn. Will the Federals let them have it, or will they counterattack along the Smith Road, hoping to push them back? Lastly, in the center of the battlefield, I've noticed the forgotten objective. I think this is the most important objective on the map. Whoever controls it has the interior position and keeps their opponent divided. By controlling the middle objective, you really control the flow of this battle, and you can turn your attention to either the east or the west and concentrate it there if you have a firm grip on that center objective. There were no casualties during the first turn of this game, and both sides still have 30,500 men apiece. Turn number 3, and during this turn, the two sides will enjoy their final command meetings until the 1 p.m. hour. For the Federals, the discussion began with Grant saying that it presently appears the rebels are moving in force along each of the main roads towards Bethlehem Church. Sherman would continue with his plan to build a defensive line south of the Telegraph Road objective. Hovey would halt a little north from his present position and then build a defensive line along Smith Road. Smith's division would move up to support Hovey's right flank by defending the many trails in the center of the battlefield. Osterhaus would keep his division in reserve and prepare to move in any direction necessary. For the Confederate command meeting, the Federals moving along Smith Road was a surprise, but they did not move aggressively. Johnston ordered Pemberton to defend the objective with Stevenson's division, as Bowen moved into the middle of the battlefield in support of him. Breckinridge wrote Pemberton that the Union forces are very close to me with a strong force near the Telegraph Road. Setting up the defense I prefer would now be very costly in casualties and serve little purpose. I'll now defend from behind the objective and encourage them to come forward to take it. French's division would move to Walker's right flank along Telegraph Road to prevent the Union from outflanking Walker and reaching Edwards Station. At the conclusion of turn number 3, the map looks like this. Sherman has moved more of his men into line in anticipation of the Confederate attack he believes is coming south along the road. Hovey's division has moved into a defensive line along the Smith Road, but they are still a mile south of the objective point. The Confederates now control 3 of the 5 total objectives on the map. The Federals will need to recapture at least one of them in order to qualify for the victory. It also means that the rebels have the option of staying on the defensive if they want. Now that they control 3 of the 5 objectives, they really don't have a reason to continue an offensive unless they choose to. Walker's division is moving into a defensive line just north of the Telegraph Road objective. The objective itself is in an area of, I call it, no man's land. It will be very difficult for one side or the other to control this objective. Therefore, the Confederates setting up just north of it does make perfect sense. It's going to force the Federals to attack them if they want to regain this objective. Stevenson has also moved into line and is defending the Smith Road objective currently. There are 2 Confederate 50-man cavalry units pushing south on Turkey Creek Road to approach Baker Creek from the east. It is unlikely they can accomplish much with such few men, but they might force the Federals to shift infantry forces to the south in case the Confederate cavalry is screening an infantry force moving for the Federal rear. Imagine if the rebels had sent just 1 infantry regiment along with the cavalry. It would probably be a much more effective movement and a diversion for the Federals if they saw a Confederate infantry regiment along with those cavalrymen. At the end of turn number 3, you can see the first casualties have occurred as the Federals attacked and wiped out a 50-man Confederate cavalry unit along the Telegraph Road. Turn number 4. The battlefield looks like this at the end of the moves. Along Telegraph Road, both the Federals and the rebels are setting up guns and infantry to defend against an enemy attack they both feel will come. Let's actually zoom in on this part of the map here so we can get a better look. Here we have the Telegraph Road objective located within that no man's land between the 2 sides. We have Walker's Confederate division to the north, and to the south, the 3 divisions of Sherman's Corps. Sherman has about 15,500 men in this immediate area, while Walker has only about 8,800 men in his division. Sherman has a window of opportunity to attack right now. The Confederates would be unprepared for any assault, and this is probably the best chance the Federals have to catch them off guard before they can set up their artillery and maybe build a few breastworks. Over in the east, the rebel cavalry is now approaching towards Baker Creek. But the Yankees do have the river guarded, so I don't anticipate the Confederates being able to get across the creek or do anything more than just distract the Federals. Over in the west, both sides are setting up defenses against an attack along the Smith Road. The 2 sides can see each other, and they know they're building breastworks, but neither side is budging. And still in the center, the forgotten objective remains. And I am pretty amazed that this objective remains unappreciated. Someone, especially the Federals, should be moving to capture this sooner rather than later, but both seem content presently to just let it sit there. The end of turn number 4, and there are the numbers that we have so far. Moving to turn number 5, the overhead map, and an eerie quiet just hangs over the Mississippi countryside. Not much has happened at all during this turn. French's division is now heading southeast from Edwards Station, and when they arrive in this general position, where are they going to go from here? Will they move to take the center objective or to support Walker's right flank if necessary? It's going to be something to watch as we move forward. And down in the southeast, the rebel cavalry was spotted this turn, moving towards Baker Creek. The Federals are now aware that they are there. But oddly enough, the Federal cavalry has just fallen back. But they remain close enough to rush back to the river before the rebels can cross it. Meanwhile, Bowen's division is heading into 3 different parts, with 2 brigades heading south, 1 to the southeast, and 1 to the southwest. To be honest, I'm not really sure where the different brigades are heading. My thought process is simply that they're spreading out to cover as much ground as possible in case the Federals are up to something that they can't see. And everything remains quiet on the Western Front. There's just not a lot going on over here. Zooming in on this part of the battlefield, you can see that the Smith Road objective is firmly behind the Confederate lines, while Hovey's Federal Division is about a mile to the south. Hovey has about 4,853 men, up against Stevenson's 7,725 men. There really is no reason for the Confederates to attack southward, as they already control the necessary objectives to win. The Federals will eventually have to either attack here or along Telegraph Road to the east to capture one of these two objectives, and to me, it just doesn't make any sense to attack along Smith Road. One thing to note is the 100 rebel cavalrymen moving unseen around the Federal flank. How far they're going to go south without being seen remains a mystery, but as of now, they're making good progress around the Federal flank. Meanwhile, the Federal cavalry itself is pretty stationary behind Hovey. They have left their left flank open, believing that the thick woods and the lack of any trails or roads will dissuade the Confederates from trying to go around that side. Obviously, this is a mistake. At the end of the turn now, you can see that there's been very little action across the battlefield that has resulted in very many casualties up to this point. 12:20 p.m., and this is the battlefield at the end of turn number 6. And the Federals have advanced against the right flank of Walker's division. Is this the start of a general attack? Zooming in on this part of the battlefield, you can see the Telegraph Road there in the center of the map between the two sides. Walker's division is in the north and Sherman's corps in the south. The Federals are advancing through the thick woods against the rebel flank, and this is a smart move because it allows them to avoid the open fields to the east. If this part of the rebel line can't hold, it seems likely they will have to fall back to the north. And if that happens, the Federals will gain the important objective point along Telegraph Road. That part of the battlefield, circled in red, seems to be the key to holding this objective hex. From that position, you can really control the objective hex and the surrounding area. Meanwhile, along Baker Creek, as predicted, a stalemate has occurred. The Confederates have moved up to the creek itself, but have run into the Federal cavalry and halted. There's really been little action elsewhere across the battlefield. All of the real action right now is on Sherman's front. At the conclusion of this turn, you can see that there has been an increase in the number of losses for both sides, as the real battle has just begun. Turn number 7. And the battlefield looks like this at the end of the turn. The fighting has continued between Sherman's forces and Walker's forces along the Telegraph Road. One Federal gun was destroyed as the artillery for both sides begins to enter into the battle. In the southeast, the Confederate cavalry scouts have reversed course after running into the Union cavalry at Baker Creek. Rather than trying to fight a battle that they can't win, the Confederate cavalry is moving back from the river and beginning to move back to the north. At the end of turn number 7, the casualties continue to increase as the fighting goes on along Sherman's front. We are now at the end of episode 2, and it is now time for my 2 cents. The early Federal caution has had 3 major effects so far. To begin with the Federals pulling up and stopping to the south of the objective point along the Telegraph Road, this allowed the Confederates instead to capture that point and to set up their forces just north of it. And this really changed the dynamic of the battle from the rebels attacking to gain the Telegraph Road objective to the Federals attacking to gain the Telegraph Road objective. And this has really flipped the script along that side of the battlefield. Meanwhile, French's division was diverted to another part of the field during the lull along the Telegraph Road. They had moved to Edwards Station, and had there been significant action along the Telegraph Road, they would have moved south to get in behind Walker's division in support. But because that wasn't going on, they instead moved to the southwest. And this has put them on the flank of Sherman's forces. And French's division is becoming an increasingly big problem for the Federals, but they just don't know it yet because they haven't seen them. French's division has 2 very good options right now. They can either attack the flank of Sherman directly, or they can move further south and get around his entire flank and try to attack him from the rear. If the Federals had been more aggressive at the start, I think everything would be different, and French would not currently occupy the position that he does. It feels like French's division may hold the key to victory or defeat in this battle for the rebels. And ironically enough, it is the smallest Confederate division on the field, with just about 6,000 men. Now, to the south, Osterhaus's division. We are at turn number 8 of 31, which means we're about 25% of the way through this battle. It's obvious nothing is happening in the west by now, and therefore their position in support of Hovey and Smith seems wasted. They should have already been moving to the area of the battlefield with the most action, and that is Sherman's front. But wherever they go, they need to start moving now. Otherwise, they might just miss more than half the battle before they're actually in a position to do anything. And the stalemate in the west. The rebels have the objective, and I don't see any reason for them to attack so long as they can see that they are tying down significant enemy forces to their front. I think Smith needs to take the center objective before the Rebs reach it with Bowen's division. Assuming that neither side wins militarily, the center objective remains the key here to a strategic victory. We have now reached the end of episode 2. In the next episode, I'm really looking forward to a number of things. First off, which direction will French attack? Is he going to hit Sherman's flank, or is he going to try to move around to his rear? Can the Federals gain permanent control over one of the 3 neutral objectives in the center of the map? Lastly, which way will Osterhaus move? Assuming he does move. Is he going to move to attack the Smith Road objective? Or is he going to move to the east and reinforce Sherman? I appreciate everyone for watching. As always, check out the American Civil War Gaming Club at acwgc.net. And if you aren't already a member, join today. Thank you.